Vinod is upset today. He was so excited about the ISRO mission to the moon, Chandrayaan-2. But the last part of the mission was not as successful as expected. At breakfast, Vinod asked his father, "How did the moon landing fail?" Dad started to explain. The only real need for the Chandrayaan to be in a circular orbit around the moon is having a certain constant velocity called critical velocity. Let's carefully understand this critical velocity first. When Chandrayaan is in orbit around the moon, it is experiencing gravity and it is also moving with horizontal velocity. Under the influence of gravity, it slightly falls towards the moon, and in the same amount of time, it keeps moving horizontally along the velocity. The new position should be at the same distance from the center of the moon. This is only possible when it is moving in a circular orbit around the moon. If we increase the velocity by firing the engine, the satellite moves away from the center. Thus, it now rises to a higher orbit. This is how the Chandrayaan could leave the Earth, slowly moving farther from its center. For landing, Vikram lander had to reduce its velocity by firing the engine in the opposite direction. If the velocity is reduced, fall is more and horizontal distance is not as large as before. So the lander comes closer to the moon in a smaller orbit. You have to ensure that it is still aligned properly and then fire the engine slowly and briefly again. This shall further reduce the velocity and the lander gets closer to the moon. And finally, with the help of the engine firing right towards the moon, the lander lands on the moon. What we know so far is that there was a slight misalignment and the engine could not reduce the speed of Vikram lander enough. So the landing was not soft and it may have slightly damaged the lander. "So what should we do now?" asked Vinod. "The scientists at ISRO are doing their job, but you should finish your breakfast and promise yourself that your project shall not fail." "This is the best you can do right now," said Dad. Vinod drank his milk quickly and rose to finish his project. Our failure should not demoralize us. It should only inspire us to do better. Vinod had learnt that lesson. Did you learn it too?